Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire to Inspire. The show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewire to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am super excited to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 107. If you missed last week's episode number 106, 3 reasons you can't regulate your nervous system, I highly recommend you go on over and check out that episode. It was a good one. Oh my gosh, it was such a fun one to record for you guys. Talking about trauma in the brain and the body, as you guys know, is my passion. It is my jam. And anytime that I can articulate things that I have learned and share those with you through these 20 to 30 minute podcasts, my job feels complete. So I hope you guys enjoy. Nonetheless, I am super excited for today's episode 107, the benefits of sitting in silence. Now stick with me. Before you tune out and you're like, okay, I don't want to hear this, just stick with me for a minute. So I want you to be asking yourself throughout this episode, what is your relationship with silence? What does that word bring up for you? Are you sitting there going, oh, I would do anything for like 5 minutes of silence? Or are you on the opposite where you're like, eek, sitting in silence actually sounds really scary. Sitting in silence actually sounds really overwhelming. Sitting in silence makes me feel numb. I don't know what that could feel like. I want you to ask yourself what that could feel like, because I know for me, I've always thought silence meant danger. And I think the reason for that is because I come from a family that is very loud. There was often some drama going on in the house, some bickering, fighting, etc. And I don't share any of this to bash my family, but I come from a very loud childhood. There was just always a noise, it seemed like. And so I grew up with the belief that that is kind of how it should be. And to be left in silence meant left with my thoughts, left with my internal dialogue and emotions. And so depending on your upbringing, your childhood, your experiences, silence means something different to all of us. And so I got curious about, some of the benefits of sitting in silence. Because recently I've been trying to intentionally take 10 minutes a day to just sit in complete silence. And I'm not even really meditating. I'm looking around my space. I'm coming back to my breath. I'm coming back to my body. I'm being present. But I'm just noticing. There's a lot of power in just noticing. Maybe you hear a car down the street. Maybe you hear a dog barking. Maybe you live in the complete middle of the woods and you hear, the trees brushing. Maybe you hear a critter outside, or maybe you hear absolutely nothing. And so this has been very eye-opening for me. And I never realized I had a toxic relationship with silence until about a year ago. And the reason that this came up for me is I remember one time I was coaching a couple clients, but one in particular I can think of during the pandemic. And we were doing phone sessions, which I had such a dislike with because I can't see the person on the other end of the conversation. So it was just really hard. And anytime, and this was like a severe, traumatized client is the best word that I can think of. And so anytime there was silence on the other end of the phone, I would get super anxious of like, what is going on over there? Why is it quiet? And also that awkward silence space. But what I learned to realize, and my supervisor helped me realize, is that silence can actually provide a lot of healing, because we often like to fill the empty space with something, right? Just being present with each other is often weird. We try to spark conversations, say things, entertain people around us. And when there's silence, it almost equals something is wrong. And so I think we start to form an association with sitting in silence and just being quiet as, an unrelaxed feeling comes up. And so I want you to imagine you're sitting down. You're sitting down in the morning, maybe having your morning coffee or your morning tea or whatever. What is it that you're doing? Are you fidgeting? Are you on your phone? Are you catastrophizing? The reason that I ask is because we live in such a go, 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 fast-paced, next thing, one thing to the next society. And it's so rare that we just sit with our thoughts and with our feelings. And I think there's a lot of reasons for this, Whoop, just hit my microphone. Sorry if that was super loud. I think one of the reasons is because when we sit in silence, it means we're forced in a way to notice what comes up. And our brain is always trying to tell us those things that are bothering it internally. And it will constantly keep telling us. But if we never take the time to listen, it is in those times of silence that it's going to say like, hey, it's my chance. I'm going to try my hardest here to get my voice heard, my feelings heard, so that my person, whoever's listening, can take action. But the thing is depending where you're at with your journey and with healing and your experiences of things that you've gone through, sitting in silence can actually be really hard. It can be really overwhelming. Oh, big yawn again. I think that's 2 episodes in a row that I yawn. And I will say I'm feeling very just in my body and kind of slowing it down for today's episode. I'm very high energy, but I'm trying to I really want to narrow down the importance and the significance of this, because there is a lot of healing that can happen in silence and in sitting with what comes up. And even if that means just sitting there for 30 seconds, if that's all you feel safe to do, and then write down what comes up. And then try it again the next day, and maybe eventually get to 45 seconds, and then you get to a minute, and then you get to 5 minutes, whatever it is. And I know a lot of us are going to be sitting there going, I wish I would take an hour if I could. Like, that sounds lovely. Try even doing it before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning. Just sit there before you get up and go to do the next thing. Just challenge yourself to sit for an extra second. One way that I've started to do this is when I get home, I'll sit in my truck and I'll just take a second to just notice. Just notice. We don't have to fix anything. We don't necessarily have to tend to anything, but just notice what your body might be trying to tell you. And I wanted to cover some of the benefits of sitting in silence today, but I do think it's just so important to validate all the things that can go beneath that, all the reasons in which we might not want to do that, right? And maybe you're not even aware that you haven't been taking time to do this. Maybe you're not aware that you haven't taken time to check in with yourself in a while and to see what your body might be needing. The thing is that silence offers us an opportunity for self-reflection and for daydreaming, which activates multiple parts of the brain. When we take time to sit and to self-reflect, we're allowing new neural pathways to form, right? We've talked about neuroplasticity lots on this podcast, right? It's basically our brain's ability to rewire itself. Our brain can literally heal itself. But what are we doing from an outside perspective to help it do that? What are the thoughts that we're feeding it, right? What are the people that we're surrounding ourselves with? What are the foods that we're eating? What are the thoughts that we're telling ourselves? I'm reading a book right now called Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess. And it is all about how toxic thoughts lead into so much of our toxic brain and how it leads to depression and to anxiety, to chronic illness. Basically, it was saying that toxic stress and thoughts actually can equate to 90% of illness that we see. That's crazy. Crazy if we think about it. And so silence again offers us that opportunity for self-reflection. Because even if we've gone through horrendous things, and we've all got shit, you guys, we've all got experiences, some worse than others, sorry. But even if two people go through the same experience, one might perceive it differently than the other. And that's okay. It's all based on our resiliency. And I have a love-hate with that word, but basically our adaptability to snap back from said thing. And so if we're able to just sit and to reflect and notice, we can tend to whatever it is that's there. But if we're constantly just on our phones, chasing the next thing, distracting ourselves, coping with alcohol or drugs, trying to just cover everything up, our brain's not getting the much needed and deserved attention that it needs to communicate with you. Silence cultivates mindfulness as well, right? Which also allows us to feel safe and in the present moment. It allows our prefrontal cortex to come back online, our thinking brain. It allows our parasympathetic nervous system to come back online, shifting out of that overdrive state, right? When we're constantly distracting or tuning out the world, our brain and body really aren't given the opportunity to be seen, heard, and validated. When we go, we are often in a living survival state without even realizing it. So by being calm and in a quiet space and in silence, we're able to tap into different parts of the nervous system. Maybe we're able to calm down our body for the first time ever, but if we've never taken the time or the chance or the opportunity to do that, I hope that this encourages even one person to just try it. Notice what happens, see what comes up, and be gentle with yourself through that process. And as I've mentioned lots of times, when we're able to, sorry, you guys, I have such an itchy nose. I was playing with my cat before this. If you're watching on video, I keep like touching my nose. There's little hairs bouncing everywhere and they keep landing on my nose. So sorry about that. But when we shift back into our rest and digest nervous system, you know, the best place that we can be when we're not needing to be in a survival state, right? When we're needing to just enjoy life and not constantly feel the need to fight off a threat that's not even in existence in that moment, we're able to decrease our heart rate, to lower our blood pressure, to reduce muscle tension, to improve our digestion, to improve mental fog, to be more creative, to increase focus, right? To cognition is better, motor skills are better, sleep is better, relationships are better. So many things are better when we're in that calm state because our body is like logically thinking. It's in its body, not trying to, again, fight off a prey that's not even in existence. We don't think of it like that because we're so often in that state. But imagine, you know, getting all your armor on and getting ready to go to war and to fight. Imagine you're just wearing that armor all the time, and then you take it off, and then you put it on, and then you take it off. It's exhausting. But the thing is that's happening without the physical armor. Our body is literally doing that. It is going from protect, unprotect, protect, unprotect, protect, unprotect. And some of us are living in that armor our whole lives, wondering why we're so exhausted, wondering why we don't feel safe, wondering why we constantly are ready for a threat without even realizing it. And I'm just realizing the power that comes from just sitting with our thoughts and sitting in silence away from distractions. Sitting in silence can help us with having more profound thoughts, We're able to articulate, to think differently, to notice, to contemplate, right? It allows us to have improved communication skills. It allows us to have better sleep. It allows us to have more inner peace, to have more appreciation and gratitude, increased creativity, stronger relationships, being more present. The more that we can be in our body and feel safe to do so, the more present inevitably we are going to be. So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now what? Now what do I do with this information, Jessie? What am I supposed to do? Well, my friends, the first thing that I encourage you guys to do is to be intentional. To be intentional about wanting to make a shift, about wanting to try something different, and about wanting to show up differently. Being intentional is the first step to any great thing in life. But I think that if you're wanting to focus on, challenging yourself, oh my gosh, for you guys. I hope you guys, I don't know if it's because I really am in a peaceful state of mind. And often when we yawn, we are actually shifting into our calm nervous system, which is a cool fact for you guys. But I hope that I made someone yawn. If you yawned, please let me know. But being intentional with this is going to be the first step. Saying, I want to try this. And wanting to try it just to be curious. Don't go into it and judge yourself, because if you've never really taken the time to sit in silence, some things might come up, right? Maybe a flashback comes up, maybe a memory comes up. But just know that your brain and body wouldn't be showing you flashbacks and things if you weren't at a place where you kind of felt safer to process them. It's interesting. Our brain almost knows when we're out of a situation enough to say, okay, now it's time to work on this shit that you went through, which is very interesting. It's something I'm trying to learn more about, of really the derivement of flashbacks, because as much as I thought I knew about them, I'm realizing I know nothing, which is kind of the theme of life. We think we know something with which in retrospect, we know nothing. And then the more we learn, there's then a million other things to learn. So anyways, learning more about that. So more to come on a podcast all about flashbacks, but intentional. The second thing, this one was huge for me. Look at boredom differently. When we sit there and we go, I'm so bored. What do we usually do? We pick up our phone. We distract ourselves. We watch TV, right? We do everything except for just sit in it. How often when you're bored, do you just sit there and just let time pass and just notice? Probably not very often, right? It's pretty few and far between that we do that. So beginning to look at boredom differently is a great first thing. Every time your brain tells you I'm bored, take 30 seconds and just scan. Sit in silence for a second and just notice. The next one, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with what comes up. Be gentle with anything, even in this conversation. If you're sitting there going, Jessie, that would be way too detrimental for me. That's okay. Maybe you practice this with a therapist. Maybe you practice this with your counselor, with someone that you trust. Hey, partner, hey, friend, do you want to sit in silence with me for just like a minute and see what happens? Do you want to just notice what comes up? And some of your friends are probably going to think that's super weird, but some of them might think that's great. And honestly, those are my type of people. So if you think that that's cool, hi. So be gentle with yourself. The next one, look at it as a form of peace and relaxation. What is it we all are wanting a little bit more of? To relax, to slow down, to rest. So what if, oh my goodness gracious, you guys, I'm like sitting here like, am I at the point now where I have to edit this out for today, which I won't do because I don't like to really edit audio out of here because I want it to stay. I can't believe I've yawned 3 times. You guys are probably sitting there like, oh my God, you're putting me to sleep. And I hope I am. So I hope that you can be bored and go take time for silence. But look at it as a form of peace and relaxation. Next time you tell yourself, I just want to relax, I just want to whatever, start that with just 5 minutes of silence and just notice how you feel. Notice if you feel more relaxed just by doing that. The next thing, Know that it will not hurt you if done in a safe way. Again, noticing what comes up for you, and that you're not wasting time. A lot of times I'll sit there and I'll go, I am wasting so much time doing this. And yes, if you're sitting there for hours upon hours every single day doing this, it's probably not maximizing your time. But if you are taking 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day to intentionally sit with your brain, with your body, with your thoughts, with your emotions, with all the baggage, all the wonderful things, there is no wasted time. In fact, we need more of that in our world. We need more intentional time taken to heal and work on ourselves. So just know that. So some times that you can do this is, again, the next time you're bored is a great way. Your morning coffee. That is such a great time where we want to enjoy that first sip of coffee. It is the best, or tea, or whatever it is that you drink in the morning, and just take those first couple sips to just be quiet. This also allows us to be more mindful, right? We're really tasting what we're drinking. We're noticing how it makes us feel. We're getting that dopamine hit in a healthy way. So morning coffee or morning routine in a way is a great way to incorporate this. Driving passenger is a great time that you can do this. Say, hey, do you mind if we turn off the radio for just 2 minutes to just sit in silence? Sure. Notice what comes up and then maybe talk about it. Talk about it with someone you trust. No headphones on your walk. This one's hard because I like to habit stack and listen to podcasts while I'm walking, but I've been challenging myself that for my first walk, I'll put in my headphones, and for my second walk, I won't. I have a border collie, so we go for all the walks, but I'll try to, or even if I'm out for a 30-minute walk, for the first 20 minutes, I'll listen to a podcast, 10 minutes that I won't, to just notice my surroundings. That's one of the best ways that we can get our thinking brain back online, is to notice, what can we hear? What can we smell? Getting our senses online. And what a better way to do that than when we're outside? 10 minutes, 1 to 2 times a day is a great place to start. But even, I wrote that down originally here, but I'm thinking now, you start smaller than that. 10 minutes is actually quite a long time. Start with even 2 minutes. Set a 2-minute timer. Just sit there and just notice, and then notice how you feel. Noticing how you feel is going to be the biggest part of this. And maybe you journal about it after. Maybe you want to write it down. Maybe you want to take a mental note. Maybe you want to call a friend, whatever it is. But I just hope you guys leave today's episode of knowing silence doesn't have to be a negative or a dangerous or a scary thing. It can actually be a very beautiful and sacral and amazing practice that I think we're all needing a little bit more of. We're needing to come back to our bodies a little bit more of, and feeling safe to do so. So I hope you take some time to just sit in silence. Honor what comes up for you, because it's going to be unique to all of us. And tend to that as it surfaces, because your mind will let you know what needs tended to. So thank you guys so much as always. If you're looking for a safe space to sit in silence or to explore maybe what came up, I would love to connect with you. There is a link in the description below to book a free 30-minute call with me. As you guys know, I am now a coach. I have 2 spots full, potentially 3. I am just waiting for confirmation. However, if you would like to book a free 30-minute call, my goal is to just provide value, to get to know you, and to build a community of like-minded individuals. So all the love, you guys. Thank you all so much. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're all having an amazing day. I hope you guys have an amazing week. All my love. You are awesome. You are beautiful. You are amazing. Keep crushing it. I'm so proud of each and every one of you, and I look forward to chatting with you all on Thursday. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at Jessie Brown 13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.